for now. I believe we are going to get a check on the weather.
In
Right?
just a few minutes, I think.
Just
You
a
know,
few minutes,
this
okay.
has been such a. Are we getting a check of the forecast from Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, Chief Meteorologist
All right.
Chris Franklin,
All
you're
right.
up.
Take it away, sir.
Alexa Trischler and I were just kind of discussing the 10 o'clock position of where or at least where the Hurricane Center placed Francine. I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse, but it certainly didn't jump that dramatic of a position north, is what we were kind of discussing off camera. So, all right, I'll leave it alone at that. A lot of folks' alarms went off on their phone that WEA, the Weather Emergency Alert System, wireless emergency alert system, and it's for the continuation of the flood threat over JP, Orleans, and into St. Charles out toward St. John. Now, the reason for that, we're not seeing any additional rain. There is no rising water in any of these locations. It's just the ongoing issues. I think once the Weather Service has kind of surveyed the, well, not really surveyed the area, but kind of assessed just how bad the flooding is across so much of Jefferson Parish and elsewhere, they have extended the flash flood warning with the dangerous conditions, kind of the caveat that this is a significant event with so many of those canals having flooded. Now that water is in the streets, and if you're near any of the canals, as Eleanor was showing, you cannot tell the difference between what is a street and what is a canal. And even in some areas where the water looks like you can at least see the bottom, there is no reason to be out and about at this hour trying to drive around to see where damage may be. Just wait until tomorrow. Wait until tomorrow. We've got a lot of power outages, so you cannot see. We can't judge the depth of the water. You don't know if you're going to start sending water into homes. A lot of folks are probably right now saying their prayers, blessings, if the water didn't get into the homes, and then you go and drive through and create a wake. So just stay off of the roads for the next several hours, but really going into the overnight hours and into tomorrow. Now, here's where that heavy rainfall is at the moment, and thankfully we're not seeing the rainfall rates nor the accumulations that we had on the South Shore, now north of the lake. And also note that we are getting some breaks in those heavier storms, and the intensity isn't nearly what it was earlier. But with that being said, there is a flash flood warning in effect for our North Shore parishes, all of southern St. Tammany Parish and southern Tangier Parish, including Hammond, out toward Covington, Mandeville, as far north as Pearl River as well. Also, just to the north of that, though, we do have some further heavy rainfall. It's just not quite to the levels to warrant a flash flood warning. However, we're looking at high water now, or excuse me, high rainfall totals now across all of our North Shore rivers. The storm surge is still on the rise in the lake. That pushes the water into the lake. It pushes it up all of our North Shore rivers, and there is nowhere for that rainwater to drain. So we are likely going to start seeing the rivers overflowing in St. Tammany Parish through the night and into tomorrow. We know it usually takes a little bit of time to see those rivers completely at least get below flood stage. So it's going to take a little bit of time for the North Shore. That more of an issue with river flooding. South Shore, it's more from the canal flooding and the canal overflowing that have caused some of these issues with the storm. Now, this is still a tropical storm, and there are still some very gusty winds. You saw from Eleanor kind of driving all around in Metairie, where we've got the high water, but it's still not exactly safe to be out and about. You still have some wind that can still cause some additional damage. And I know from a number of folks I'm seeing, they've had power up until about 15, 20, 30 minutes ago, and they're just now losing it. So even if you have power now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you will continue with that electricity through the night. So there is still damage occurring across the region. Just this is not the time to be outside. We had said we will wait until this is completely through, and really we're not going to be able to assess anything until early tomorrow morning. So just wait this one out. There's no reason to be out and about yet until we get further into the morning hours and a little bit of daylight on Thursday. We've had over 7.32 inches of rainfall at Kenner, over 6 inches of rainfall at Lakefront. Then Belle Chase, not as bad, 2.5 inches of rainfall. We are approaching 4 inches up towards Slidell. Now Hammond, sometimes the Hammond gauge gives us a little bit of a fit. It's only reporting a ½ inch of rainfall. They've likely seen a lot more than that, and certainly more to come. Now, looking at Picayune, almost 4 inches of rainfall, and we are over 4 inches of rainfall thus far at Gulfport. Winds are still windy. Winds are still picking up, I should say, and gusting over 50 miles an hour in the city, and sustained at near 40 miles an hour. They are diminishing, but still very brisk down at Homa, still brisk at Gonzales, and winds are increasing now across the North Shore. So the wind still very much an issue, with power outages, other tree limbs coming down, and just further damage is still possible through the rest of the night and into early tomorrow morning. By wake-up time tomorrow morning, the center of what is left of Francine will be well to our north. We will have that dry air wrapping around, so we will begin to see those improving conditions. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, with the heaviest of the rainfall now a little bit more focused on the North Shore. That will continue shifting northward after midnight, so we probably got another few hours north of the lake to deal with the heavy rain, and then as that rain continues pushing northward, on the drier side, we're going to have that drier air moving in. Rainfall will begin to subside, and a much quieter rest of the night tonight and into early tomorrow. Both the GFS and the Euro are in pretty good agreement with the rough idea of the timing. Now, the winds will continue and kind of say through the rest of the night tonight. We are still going to have those strong wind gusts. Now, they are coming down, but they have been gusting up to over 50 miles an hour. So we're no longer seeing the 70, but they have still been gusting up to about 50 miles an hour. Now, those will be subsiding again, but they're still pretty breezy at the moment. If you do have power, make sure that those phones are charged. And if you haven't lost electricity yet, make sure that the phone is charged. Download the WWL app so you'll be able to keep streaming us through the night while we continue to basically ride out the storm with you. At the moment, though, looking toward downtown, again, one of the bridges, the lights continue to shine. It was the other one from the other side downriver that the lights have gone out. We can see lights downtown and on the West Bank. So far, at least from near where our transmitter is in Terrytown, the surrounding area does have electricity. Obviously, we've been reporting the number of areas that do not have power for right now. What thankfully is occurring is that wind shear and dry air are winning out. We are seeing gradually, as you kind of watch the satellite presentation of Tropical Storm Francine, it really no longer looks like a tropical storm. Even what had been the more intense clouds with those storms on the South Shore, as the storms themselves have moved northward, those cloud tops associated are getting ripped apart. So the rain on the North Shore, what had been potent south, is not nearly as intense as the storms continue pushing toward the North Shore, and that drier air is really starting to take hold, really starting to erode a lot of the moisture, not only kind of wrapping around on the southern and eastern side, but really coming at us from the west as well. That will continue to kind of kill off a lot of that available moisture for those heavier rains. Now, still some big soaking rains on the North Shore, but at least we're starting to cut into that moisture source and also eliminating those towering cumulus where you get the more intense storms. They are starting to wrap up. So just a recap of radar at the moment, you still have what is relatively broad circulation, and folks have been asking, are we in the eye? Well, the eye is no longer there. It is a weakening tropical storm. What had been the structure of the eye wall is what sent in those heavy storms. This basically started from landfall at 5 p.m. right through the metro area, soaking the bayou parishes, river parishes, metro area, pushing to the North Shore, but as I said, they are getting those storms ripped apart. So the intensity of the rain now north of the lake is not as bad as it was south of the lake. Still some very heavy rainfall. We still have the gusty winds. We still can have some damage to the overnight, but conditions continuing to improve.